I don't know why this is touching me so deeply. I'm sorry. I just find it remarkable that you're able to have the strength to be so uncomfortable, to put yourself in a situation that you going into it knew would be uncomfortable. But yet, as you said, there were moments that were golden, I'm sure, that were just absolute gifts for both of you to be a part of because you showed up and because you embrace that challenge of this is probably going to feel uncomfortable sometimes, and that's okay. That takes true strength, Dave.
And, a lot of that I think was tied into overcoming just the general shame that I felt about myself in so many ways over the years.
Mm-hmm.
I felt so much shame for being out of shape, for being an addict, and even though like on paper, I had a wife and two beautiful daughters. I've got, a nice house. I've got a job. I'm doing the things right. But I knew like, it just felt like I was an imposter. Like it felt like I was insincere.
Yeah.
And when I was challenged to not just, eat the right macros and go to the gym, but to actually consider what my values are first. And then once identifying those, actually put those into action. It changed the way I live. And in every aspect of what I do. And it changed the way I live in such a way that now I am proud of who I am. When I show up for other people, I'm proud of the person I'm presenting to them. There aren't words to describe how that changes how you feel about yourself and about the world as a whole. Gratitude.
Man, dude, I don't even know you, and I am so proud of you. Like, I'm in tears proud of you. Like, you are a great example. You're a great example for other men watching this right now, and women, me included, because this isn't about six-pack abs at the end of the day. If you're new or watching this as a replay, welcome. We're so glad that you're here. Please subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube, and consider, if you're able, to become a paid subscriber on defenders-live.com. Your support is the only way I'm able to continue doing this labor of love. And also, if you're looking for exceptional firearms and self-defense training, go to defenders-usa.com and look at the calendar to see what's coming to your area this year. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Defenders Live. I'm your host, Lora Thorson, and tonight I have a couple of special guests on. My first guest that I want to bring onto the show is Dave Helgran. And Dave has gone through a remarkable transformation over the past 10 months. He's been working with an incredible nutritionist and physical fitness coach, I guess you could say, and he has made some really great improvements. Over the course of the 10 months, he has lost 19% body fat and 56 pounds. He is a Marine Corps veteran, and I'm excited to have him and his coach, Mike Davis, on the show. I am first going to bring on Dave, and then later I'll bring on Mike of MadeMan Coaching, who helped him make this happen. Let's welcome Dave Helgran onto the show. Hey, Dave.
Hey, Laura. Thank you for having me.
You bet. I'm excited for this interview because not just because of the remarkable transformation you've had physically, but I imagine there was a transformation that happened perhaps mentally and maybe even within your family structure and the relationships in your life. And it seems as though, from my experience, the physical fitness brings out that in all other areas of my life anyway. And I'm just curious to hear your story.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I mean, I think it's true with fitness. It kind of adds to all aspects of your life. If you feel better, you tend to do better. You tend to be better in a lot of ways. And just the discipline required, to take over your life, take charge of your health and stuff. That always carries over into other aspects as well. And in particular with MadeMan Coaching, one of the reasons that I was drawn into it to begin with was that it wasn't advertised as just sign up and we'll make sure we get you lean and get you abs. It was, sign up and this is a journey that's about more than just fitness. It's about being a better father to your children, a better husband to your wife, and that there's a whole life makeover kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, before we get too deep in it, Dave, could I just show your before and after photos for people? And could you kind of explain to me who the guy is on the left and what kind of mindset and life he led, and who the guy is on the right? Let's start with this one.
Sure. So full disclosure, I'll never get tired of looking at that picture. It is so so awesome on my own to like look at that and be like, wow, I've made such strides. So back in December of 2023, you wouldn't know it, but I was still probably working out 4 or 5 days a week.
Wow.
And while I thought that my diet wasn't terrible, if you would ask me, I'd said, yeah, I eat okay. I don't do terrible. And I'm working out regularly. I had been at this point 10 years about since I had left the Marine Corps, and I'd lost weight at times and been skinnier at times and been fatter at times. But, I pretty much kept a pretty good routine of feeling like I was trying, feeling like I was taking the steps, I was doing the work to try to stay in shape, but it just was getting away from me. And around the time I had my first daughter, I realized like, my wife and I, we waited to have kids. I'm 39 years old now. In that, there's a lot of sort of baggage that comes with that. Like no matter whether I like it or not, I'm going to be in my 50s when my daughter's a teenager. And I knew I was going to be an old dad, and I didn't want to be an old fat dad on top of it. And like, I didn't want to have my age or my health be something that holds my daughters back from anything they want to do in life. So that was one of my main motivating factors of saying, hey, I don't like the trajectory that my body's on, that my health is on, and I want to overhaul it, but I don't know where to begin. I mean, like I said, I'm already in the gym pretty regularly. I feel like I have the discipline.
You were in the gym like 3 to 5 days a week. Is that what you were saying? Mm-hmm. And you were like, in your mind, you were decently eating, like healthy. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, I would say better than the average American. I still wasn't eating. I wasn't eating as clean as I am now, but I wasn't. It wasn't an absolute garbage fest either.
So was it just that you felt like you were spinning your wheels that made you reach out for help? And I know you said it was mostly your family, but did you just feel like on your own, you weren't like getting the results you wanted?
Yeah, and I had tried just about every fad diet or fad exercise routine you can imagine. Yeah. I'd done keto. I'd had some success there with losing weight, but it came back. I'd done different fasting things like with juice fast and all that stuff, and similarly lost weight, but it eventually came back. And I felt like you said, like I was spinning my wheels, like, I got to a point where it's like, all right, I'm doing the same thing over and over again. It's no wonder I keep getting the same results. I got to figure something else out. I should ask somebody that knows more about this than I do. And I had looked into options through my work and looked into other options, and I didn't really find anything that clicked with me. And then I was scrolling on Instagram one night, and I saw the MadeMan Coaching ad. I saw Mike saying he's looking for some guys that are veteran backgrounds that are looking to get back into shape. And something about it just sort of spoke to me and triggered a spark. And so I reached out to him and talked to him one-on-one. And I was still like in my head, I was like, I don't know if this is what's going to work. And I'll talk to my wife about it and see. And in my head, even then, and I shared this with Mike earlier, is that even then I was like, all right, well, I'm going to sign up and I'll pay the money. And, I'll do everything verbatim, exactly as the coach tells me to do it. And then when it doesn't work, I'll be able to ask for my money back because I did everything exactly the way they said to do it. Mm-hmm. So even at that point, I was fully expecting it to not work.
Wow. And how much was that of your belief in him, and how much was that the lack of belief in yourself? Or do you know what I mean? That feels more like you're talking about a belief about yourself than about him. Do you know what I'm saying?
There was definitely a lot of self-doubt there. And also, like this is some stranger that I met through Instagram on the internet.
Right.
So,
yeah.
It's so easy nowadays to get scammed by one thing or the other. And so there was a lot of, I guess, anxiety and apprehension in that,
rightly so.
Is this another one of those fads like everything else that I've tried? But like I said, I told myself I would stick to it and see where it got me. And so, then you asked about the guy on the left versus the guy on the right. Yeah.
I'm going to put up this other image of you as well.
Yeah. Guy on the left, I was like, all right, I got some work to do, but even that picture, I'm in the gym, I'm there, I'm trying, I'm taking steps. The guy on the right is like, oh man, I've got some definition now. I've got something to work on. I've got something to build on. And there's a quote that I heard, and I'm sure, like I heard it first from Tom Brady. I'm sure Tom Brady was quoting somebody else when he said it, but the quote is, I didn't come this far to just come this far. Yeah. And that quote resonates with me. In particular, like when I was taking those last photos for my my posting for my final reaching my bottom of my cut, I was like, man, this is great. And I was like, but now starting from this point, imagine how much further I can go.
Wow. I have a question, if I may. I'm wondering, Dave, like the guy that was on the left is like who you got used to being, right? Like in life. Mm-hmm. when you became the guy on the right, was the guy on the left still in there? Or like, did you have to transform into that guy on the right in more ways than physically, I guess?
Yeah. I think that there's always a little bit of fat guy at heart, like there's I'm never going to not want to eat pizza and junk food. That's, I love pizza. It's delicious. Who wouldn't want that? But the difference being then I didn't believe that the guy on the right was achievable. So it was easier to say, well, if that's not, I might as well eat the pizza. It's not like I'm ever going to have abs anyway. Right. Now, guy on the right, I look in the mirror and I actually like what I see. And I say, all right, well, let's keep doing this. This is working. And when I get the option to eat something that, maybe it is delicious and maybe I do crave it at times, but I also, I like how I look and how I feel a lot more than I like the taste of that pizza.
Was there ever a point in your journey that Mike had to help carry that belief for you? Like he could see and know the potential because he's worked with so many people. Did he have to help carry that for a portion of it so that you could finally realize that for yourself? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And so the way the MadeMan Coaching group works too is it's not just Mike. So Mike is my trainer. Mike writes my exercise regimen and he also writes my macros and helps me plan my nutrition. But when we meet, we do group meetings with a lot of other guys that are part of the group as well. So it's what I didn't expect going into it is that it's kind of like almost group therapy because we get in and there's so many times that I've been on calls where I had said something and Mike corrected it. But he's like, don't say you can't, say you haven't yet. Or other guys on the group too have called me out so many times for negative self-talk, which I never would have said before this, that one of the keys to me getting in shape is eliminating the negative self-talk, because those two things, in my mind, those don't go together. You want to get in shape, you eat less and work out. But the mental aspect of believing that you can actually achieve it is really what leads you to be able to get through all the days of being hungry and pushing back cravings and showing up at the gym when you're tired or when you're sore or whatever the case is.
And it mentioned here in a little bit in some of the notes that I have that now, does this pertain to you? Did you have any addiction issues prior to going into the program?
Yes.
And how did that work out?
So when we got into the program, like I said, it was advertised as, being for not just fitness, but for being a better man in all cases. All that was interesting, but when I actually got around the group of guys, it was like, I just want to focus on my fitness. But behind the scenes, I was a flawed human, and not just because I was
all
bad.
Flawed humans, Dave.
Right. So there were other things that I struggled with beyond just my weight. And in particular, I was struggling with addiction to sex and pornography. And I, had dealt with this for really my entire life and never sought help, never did anything about it. There were parts of it where my life was really becoming completely out of control. And I didn't know what to do, who to turn to. I didn't know, I tried reaching out to therapy through the VA because I do the Marine Corps. I have my Marine Corps background. And I was at a loss of where to begin. On one of the group calls, this is probably 6 or so months ago, another man that was on the group opened up about having been sober from alcohol for 14 years and, having a setback and started drinking again. And he was, opened up and was crying and sharing his story and just reaching out to the men in the group and asking for help and support. And the fact that none of the men shamed him or made him feel worse about it, and in fact, everyone picked him up, that really resonated with me. And I ended up reaching out to him directly and talking a little bit, talking about whether or not, I have my own problem that I'm dealing with and I don't know where to begin. His encouragement made me feel more comfortable sharing it with the group. And again, to my surprise, although maybe I shouldn't have been surprised, I wasn't shamed or made to feel guilty. In fact, I was showered with more respect and praise for having the courage to speak up about it and ask for the help. Which
I just wrote in my notes. As you were speaking, I wrote the word courage. I also wrote the word truth because it sounds like that's a really, really vulnerable thing to do. That takes a lot of courage.
And keep in mind, again, this started with, meeting a stranger on Instagram.
Yeah, but Mike is different, I think. So I don't know if you figured that out yet or not, but I certainly have.
Well, there's an interesting sort of corollary to this story is that when I first came on, there was somebody else in the group who had been with Mike for longer and had been with Mike in part of another fitness group. And he had lost a bunch of weight and was in great shape. He was definitely someone like a leader in the group, someone that I looked up to. And, when I shared about my issues with addiction with the group, that person ended up reaching out to me directly because he was struggling in his own right. And he hadn't spoken up to anybody. And the fact that he was someone that I kind of looked up to on a fitness level, and then because of my courage, which was inspired by someone else in the group, ultimately inspired him. It was like it was coming full circle. And in our call recently, he shared that like his marriage is better because I was able to share that in the group, and I was able to share it in the group because someone else with an addiction problem was able to share it. So it really does like sort of have compounding results to everyone in the group.
Right. And that just like, I think doubles down on the fact that even though it feels as though many times we're alone in what we're going through, we're really not. And so the fact that that's offered, I think, is a key component, wouldn't you say, in moving forward, in having people tell you the truth in love is like one of the best things that I think anyone can do for your well-being. Somebody who really cares about you and has your best interests at heart, they can tell you hard things, but in a loving, kind way. Maybe not even kind sometimes, but in a loving, there's love behind it. That's really reassuring. What has changed, I'm curious, in your other relationships, like your marriage and with your kids and your work, perhaps? Has that changed as well?
Yeah. In particularly, I would say with family, and with the way I approach my relationships with family and with friends that I consider family. One of the exercises that I was prompted to do after a discussion with Mike and one of the books I had read was about identifying what my values are and writing them out and actually giving them serious thought and not just saying, oh, of course I have values, but actually writing out family values. When I did that and it started something in my mind, I guess, that kept those in the forefront of my mind with every decision I'm making. And one of my core values is to be intentional and to live with intention. And so I tried to carry that value with everything I do, in particular with my relationships. If my 2-year-old, for example, was sick from school, from daycare all last week, and I tried to be intentional with all the time that I spent with her. It was never just that, we're in the same room together. It was that these are precious moments that I'm only going to have so many of these minutes with her as a toddler to, spend time with her, to make those connections. And I really need to focus and make sure that I'm getting the most out of that. And I would say the same is true with my grandfather, who passed away this past year. He was old and he was dying of cancer that he chose not to treat because in his words, he was ready to pass on. And he still needed a lot of help, despite being ready to just give up. He needed a lot of help to have, to die with dignity, so to speak. I made it a point, even though it was quite frankly uncomfortable to do so a lot of the time, to take the time off work, to take the time off of other things, and to, spend the time with him and help him with, basic things and complicated things. That was such a huge part of my life and had such a significant impact on me. I think it really had a good impact on my whole family. It was, really difficult to let him go, but also I think we all felt at the end of it, like we say, he died well. Like he died the way anybody would want to, with his whole family around him, showering him with love. And it was as positive an experience as you can have in those circumstances. And that was another example of, I was extremely intentional about how I approached that situation.
Do you think that what you've done over the last year, almost year, oh, sorry, that really touched me. Do you think that what you've done over the last year, like that if your grandfather had been going through that, say, a couple years ago or 3 years ago, do you think you could have shown up for him that way?
No, not a chance. And I can say that confidently. I can say that confidently because, he lived in Maryland, about 4 hours from where I live, and has lived there for, a decade plus. While I saw him, with some frequency, maybe once or twice a year, in his last year, I was there almost like once a month, if not every other weekend. Oftentimes those weren't really great visits. There were times when, because of his dementia and his wife's dementia, I would have my wife and daughters stay home because, it wasn't going to be an environment that they needed to be a part of. It was trying to resolve conflicts between him and his doctors or him and his wife. It was, helping him struggle through just the aspects of, end of life care and that sort of thing. But at the same time, we were able to, have those quiet moments where it's just the two of us, and he could, tell me honestly how he felt about various topics, and, I could pick his brain about different things. And it was just, I never doubted that he was proud of me. He was a very proud man himself, very stoic, the military background himself. But in the last year, I felt like I gave him something to be proud about. Like, I felt like I had earned that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know why this is touching me so deeply. I'm sorry. I just find it remarkable that you're able to have the strength to be so uncomfortable, to put yourself in a situation that you going into it knew would be uncomfortable. But yet, as you said, there were moments that were golden, I'm sure, that were just absolute gifts for both of you to be a part of, because you showed up, and because you embrace that challenge of, this is probably going to feel uncomfortable sometimes, and that's okay. Like, that takes true strength, Dave.
And, a lot of that, I think, was tied into overcoming just the general shame that I felt about myself in so many ways over the years. Mm-hmm. I felt so much shame for, being out of shape, for being an addict. And even though, like, on paper, I had a wife and two beautiful daughters. I've got, a nice house. I've got a job. I'm doing the things right. But I knew, like, it just felt like I was an imposter. Like, it felt like I was insincere.
Yeah.
And when I was challenged to not just, eat the right macros and go to the gym, but to actually consider what my values are first. And then once identifying those, actually put those into action. It changed the way I live. And in every aspect of what I do. And it changed the way I live in such a way that now I am proud of who I am. When I show up for other people, I'm proud of the person I'm presenting to them. There aren't words to describe how that changes how you feel about yourself and about the world as a whole. Gratitude.
Man, dude, I don't even know you, and I am so proud of you. Like, I'm in tears proud of you. Like, you are a great example. You're a great example for other men watching this right now, and women, me included, because this isn't about six-pack abs at the end of the day. Like, that's cool and stuff, but...
Yeah, when we did the call, the MadeMan Coaching call last, and we discussed all these things, and I got to hear some of the feedback and input from the other guys on the call too, I was so floored and humbled by the things that I heard that...
Yeah.
Gratitude is the only word that comes close, and even that falls so short of it. I mean, I consider myself Buddhist. I'm not someone that necessarily believes in a orthodox religion, but it's hard to come away from a conversation like that and not feel some sort of connection to a greater spirituality.
Yeah. I'm just like dumbfounded. I came into this interview like fully expecting to get excited and behind this guy that's transformed his life. And I like had expectations for what I thought this would be. And instead it like gave me like this new appreciation for somebody that like I think I'm putting in the work, Dave, but like I look at you and what I see out of you is like the true definition of transformation in a person, And I love that you led off with like, I'm not perfect, right? And none of us are. I love that, the humbleness that you have, and just hearing you talk now, I believe you when you say that you're proud of yourself, And I really think at the end of the day, I feel like most people, that's just what they want. That's really what they want. Like they want rid of the shame and the fear, and they just want to stand up and be seen and know that at the end of the day, they can be proud of themselves, and that, perhaps their spouse and their kids can be too. And like, that's really all that matters, And so it's just so funny that this physical process that you went through turned out to be so much more than that. Like that ended up kind of being a byproduct.
Yeah. And I guess, I know I'm still flawed. I know I still have work to do in so many areas.
Yeah.
But I also know where I was and where I've been. And, I know that I've made vast improvements from that. That's worth celebrating. And
absolutely.
One of the things that I share with the guys in the group, and like the only real fitness advice that I can offer, other than, work with a coach if you aren't already, because that makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
Is that, throughout the journey, there's a lot of little wins that you need to give attention to and celebrate, because those little wins are what are going to motivate you and give you the energy and the excitement and the enthusiasm to keep going. And, I've shared before, like if I was working out in the gym, maybe a month in, and there's a new line starting to form between my bicep and my tricep,
I can relate to this.
That becomes something. It's like, I'm taking a picture of that. Like, I'm like, hey, I'm taking a picture of this and I'm sending it to my wife.
Yeah.
A new shoulder vein. It's like, there's something. And I mentioned before we got started on the call of shadow abs. The first time I got shadow abs, I was in the mirror flexing as hard as I could and sending pictures to my wife, sending pictures to the guys in the group. Like, it's every one of those little victories propels you to keep going for another week, keep trying for a little while longer. But if you don't celebrate those and you just instead say, well, I'm not where I want to be yet, well, then you eventually get tired of saying, I'm not getting there, I'm not getting there, I'm not there, I'm not there.
Right.
And it becomes harder and harder.
Right. Yeah, that's so good. Perspective is so good, and reflecting on the wins is so important. Hey guys, I want to offer you something that is a personal touch, something special that I can share with you to help you grow and develop along this journey in this path as a defender. And what I'm offering is a monthly live call that you can participate in. And we're going to be talking about the 4 areas that I believe all defenders of life should be strong in. And those are physical fitness, emotional fitness, spiritual fitness, and training. So if you're interested in learning about those things and developing yourself throughout that journey, I'm here to help you. And I want my paid subscribers to have that personal touch of getting to talk with me one-on-one in this group call and sharing with others and encouraging others along this path. So if you'd like to get in on those calls, go to defenders-live.com, become a paid subscriber. I cannot wait to see you there. And thank you so much for your support of Defenders Live. I know you have to leave here pretty soon. We're going to bring Mike on here in just a second. But before I bring Mike on and you have to leave to go pick up your kids, what would you say to someone who is starting where you started? What would you say to them, that someone that's really inspired by what you're doing, but they don't really know, like, yeah, he can do that, but can I do that?
Yeah. I think the key is you just got to start. Mike used to always say, run the play. He'd give you the steps, just run the play, just do the steps. And the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to get a little bit better for having done those steps. Another way to look at it is, let's say there's, 6 months worth of workouts between you and the body that you want. Well, every day that you don't work out, you're pushing back the body you want by one more day. So take each day and just get started and do it a little bit at a time and celebrate each of those micro wins, because those add up.
Yeah, that's a great encouragement to people. Mike, are you in the green room? I'll bring you on here and you can, I think he's there. I'm waiting for him to pop up here. There he is. There's Mike.
There I am.
Hey, Mike. This is Mike with MadeMan Coaching. He's the coach behind Dave, the nutritionist. Did I say that right? Fitness coach and nutritionist, right?
Yeah, nutrition coach. I don't have a degree. I do have a couple certifications, but I am not a registered dietitian. So for legal reasons, let me just say that. I was. Is
there anything you wanted to add before Dave jumps off here?
There's I caught the end of that. There's something dust in my room or something. I had a lot of stuff in my eye over here.
I know. I don't know why that hit me so hard.
Tearing up all over again. And I'm just so incredibly proud of the work that Dave has done. I didn't do it. I was part of it. And here's the coolest thing for me is, if Dave and I never saw each other again, which would make me very sad, by the way. I expect us to have a long relationship. But if we never saw each other again, I get to be part of his story for the rest of his life. Not because I did the work, he did the work, but his life is forever different because I got to meet him. And that's everything, right? My wife and I were talking the other day because I just tasked my guys last week on a call, this Thursday, they have to come back with, hey, if you haven't written down values recently, I'm going to see them. So my wife and I were writing some of ours. And one of the things that I put down immediately was, I want to have generational impact. And then, that sounds so big, right? So then if you get into SMART goal frameworks, it's got to be a little more specific. What is generational impact? This is generational impact.
Yeah.
Right? Dave's family is going to be better because of the work that he put in.
Mm-hmm.
And again, please, this credit goes to Dave. Dave did this work.
Mm-hmm.
I just got to be the guy that said, hey, come on, let me take you with me, right? And
the
so
play,
the
Dave,
amazing thing is Dave's daughters are going to have a better dad, which means they're going to have a better example of what they want to look for in a spouse someday.
Mm-hmm.
His wife now has a better husband who's more present and more servant. So their relationships are better.
Mm-hmm.
So he's probably better at his job. Like, these are all the things that matter. And people, I talk to people a lot of times and they'll say, well, I'll just go get a trainer. And I say, well, that's fine. Go do that. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I know a lot of great personal trainers, but they aren't going to ask you how your family is and really want to know, right? When we go through life and we walk around in town and somebody says, oh, hey, how are you? Most of the time, those people don't really want to know, right? It's just the thing we do in the United States. It's just our greeting. Hey, how are you?
Mm-hmm.
But we don't really care how you are.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what I pride myself in, like really caring about how you are. And because at the end of the day, and I say this all the time, but if we got Dave abs, but he and his wife weren't talking, or he wasn't a better dad, or he was still struggling with some of the stuff he was struggling with, then we didn't do anything that mattered. Yeah. There are plenty of really in shape jerks in the world. And I refuse to work with those people. I don't want to work with them. That's not what I want. That's why it's called Made Man. It's not called abs or because there's a lot of those too, right? Monster abs and mad muscle. It's not about the muscles, right? Like, that's why the back of the shirt says boys are born, men are made, because this takes work. And
that's where Made Man came from.
So yeah. So Dave can't be the best version of himself if he's 50 or 60 pounds overweight. He just can't be. He doesn't have the energy. It doesn't make him a bad person.
Yeah.
But I can't show up at my best capacity if I'm not doing everything I can to be in good physical shape.
Yeah.
The abs don't make me a better person, right? What makes me a better person is the follow through. Mm-hmm. As you said earlier, being able to, you believe what Dave said.
Yeah.
Right? How amazing is it when your wife or your husband believes the words that come out of your mouth because you show them every day that you're a person of your word?
Mm-hmm.
And Dave is really great in the group to be like, hey, I'll see you guys under the squat bar. Because as insane as it sounds, him making himself go get under that bar and lift heavy weights, or getting on that leg press, or being on the treadmill for an hour, whatever it is, him doing that when he doesn't really feel like it and intentionally putting himself in uncomfortable places for growth is what allows you to go visit that dying loved one and put yourself in a situation that's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's what allows you to put down the pizza.
It. Yeah.
And I will tell you, it's okay to eat pizza. Just make it fit, right? Like that's the other thing. Get rid of the shame around this stuff. Just start doing better, right? Just pay. I tell people all the time, like, I don't do diets, right? Like, we pay attention to how food works in the human body, and we use science to do that, right? Like, you're not a horrible human being if you had a cheeseburger today. You're not. Or a piece of pizza. But like some of the other day, I was out and somebody offered me something and it looked delicious and it was deep fried. And I said, oh, that looks amazing, but it doesn't pair well with my abs, and it was kind of just a joke, right? Oh, hi, sweetheart.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry to interrupt. Before I go, I just wanted to show you guys what I'm actually most proud of. And this is my daughter, Sophia. She's 11 weeks. My other daughter, Emma, is 2 years old. She's the one I'll be leaving to pick up here soon.
Look at that hair. My goodness.
Yeah, it just started falling out too. She's just at that age where it starts to come out. But one of the things that I get to do now, Emma, my 2-year-old, one of her favorite games with me lately is she'll climb on my back while I'm laying down. And then she'll say, Dada, up, down, up, down. And she literally, it became her game. I didn't make this up. Where she makes me do push-ups while she lays on my back. And she does, it's not like fast knock them out either. She'll say up, and then she'll have me wait there for 2 or 3 seconds.
Oh gosh.
And, suspense. And that's not something the guy on the left that, Fat Dave ever would have been able to do. And it's just so inspirational and so awesome that, like Mike said, he's not just giving Dave abs, he's made my daughter's life better. And that's something that, you can't buy that kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, Dave, I appreciate your time on here so much. I know you need to jump off, but congratulations on your success, both physically and in your family. I mean, You're doing great things. I'm so happy for you. And I don't even know you, but I'm so proud of you, dude. You're inspiring.
Thank you so much. It's awesome to come here and talk to you guys about it.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Dave, for being who you are. And for anybody out there watching, he has an 11-week-old daughter. He finished this process with a brand new baby. So
yeah,
no excuses.
Bye,
Thank
Dave.
you. Love you, brother.
Thank you, Dave. Love you, bro.
All right,
Hi,
Mike.
I'm still here.
Yep, you're still here. And so, okay, I want to ask you some questions about like when Dave came into the program, what were like the biggest growth opportunities you saw for Dave? Like, I know you're really good at seeing potential in people, but there's also like major setbacks hangups, I guess you'd say, that people have. What did he have to overcome?
So I think this is pretty common for men, maybe not so much for women, but for men specifically, a lot of times it's the pride. Because he was working out 3 or 4 or 5 days a week. The great thing about Dave, one of many great things about Dave, is that he was in the Marine Corps. So he is very good at following directions. So I do find, because like I said, he was working out and he thought he was doing the right things. And at the beginning, I think it was 2 days maybe after he got started and signed up with me, he sent me a text and he's like, "Hey, bro, I still don't know about this. I just sent a stranger on the internet some money."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, no problem, but you're not getting your money back till the end if you get your money back. So you might as well do it while you're here." Right.
Yeah.
And so because I refuse to let people quit on themselves before they start, I just won't do that because I've seen it in myself. Right. How easy is it to just give up one more time? And I will say one of the great things about Dave is his initial, I was like, okay, what have you tried before? It was like a list, like everything he ever really did. He put it out there. So for Dave, I think one of the biggest was getting him out of like, this is what I do. Like I go to the gym these days. I said, "Hey, I'm going to give you a whole new workout. I need you to scrap whatever you're doing." He said, "Do you want me to send it to you?" "No, I don't even need to see it. It's obviously not working. Let's get rid of it. I'm just going to give you a new thing." And he was very good about that. But I think for Dave, a lot of it at the beginning, what maybe stemmed from some of the addiction stuff, because it's not even about the addiction stuff. It's about the lies you have to tell when you're hiding the addiction stuff. Right. So if you're continually lying to your wife, not overtly lying, but maybe lies of omission, because the stuff he was struggling with at the time wasn't something he had a conversation with his wife about. When you're not living in truth everywhere, it's very difficult to live in truth anywhere. So at the beginning, although I didn't necessarily know what some of the stuff was, I think that may have impeded him at the beginning. But as he got more comfortable, and he started realizing, as he said, that the guys don't shame you. Like, that's not what we do here, right? And so when people realize that they're safe, as silly as it sounds, guys need to feel safe too. This is why so many men, one of the reasons I think so many men struggle, especially like post-COVID. It's interesting because, there are so many times now that you see in the news that these men are just losing their minds and shooting their whole families. Like, it's horrible, right? And I'm not saying that MadeMan is the solution to that. But what I am saying is that when men have a place where they can really express their concerns and their problems and their struggles and get lifted up so they don't feel alone, so they don't feel isolated, so they don't feel like there is no other option, I think a lot of these violent outbursts can be prevented.
Yeah.
And so for Dave, I think a lot of it at the beginning was the way he spoke to himself was a big one. He was a big fan of negative self-talk, which I think a lot of us are. And, and I teach it every day, and I still have to catch myself once in a while. I no longer need the rubber band, but, sometimes I'll have people put a rubber band on the wrist. If you're really big and you often talk badly about yourself, I have you put a rubber band on your wrist and snap it every time you catch yourself doing it. And pretty quickly, you'll catch it before you actually say it. And then pretty soon you correct the thought in the middle of the thought. And it's still always going to be there. There's always going to be a little bit, but if you can recognize it and not give it the power, then you're that much further ahead. But Dave has been incredible to work with. He has been very diligent, and here's one of the other things I really love. And this isn't your question at all, but just this week in the group, in one of the group chats, right? Because we have group chats as well. I had recommended a book. And a lot of times in fitness programs and coaching programs, everybody follows this guy and he's like the guru, right? So I'm not a guru, right? Like, what makes this group amazing is the men. I just get to be the dude that runs it all, right? And so I had recommended this book to him, and I was so, like, I almost cried because he put in the group chat, he's like, "Oh, I just finished that book. I'm reading this other book." You know what? Wasn't my favorite book. There was a couple of things I liked, but I didn't like some of his assumptions at the end. And it made me so happy because my whole goal, and what I've always told my kids too, is, right, like, my job is to teach people how to think, not what to think. So like, as weird as this probably sounds to you, like, I was so proud that this man, who is an incredible leader in his own right, felt safe enough in my group to disagree with me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because I don't want sycophants, right? Because nobody wins with sycophants, right?
Yeah.
And I have plenty of flaws of my own that I'm still working on every day. You know, and that's one of the things that makes it powerful too. I start every call with something I screwed up this week, right? Because I want people to know that I'm just like everybody else. Like, we all struggle every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's where the power is, because if you go on Instagram or you go on Facebook and you're not very careful, you can get very depressed pretty quickly, because people put the best 10 seconds of their week on Instagram and they want you to believe that's what their life is, and it's not. So I would much rather you see me after I just screwed up and had a nighttime craving for cereal and ate 2 bowls, or just had a disagreement with my wife that almost got out of hand, like, because I'm a real person. And I think real people are the only way to move forward. The fake internet stuff, it is very easy to get scammed. And I wish we would have asked Dave. Like, I don't think he would call me a scam at this point. But he was really scared at the beginning. Yeah. And that's okay. I get it. You know, and I was glad he was skeptical. I mean, not glad, right? Nobody's glad when there's but it was great for me, because this particular iteration of the program, MadeMan Coaching, officially became a program in October of last year. And, you know, I've done this work on and off for 25 years. My wife and I had a brick and mortar for a while. We ran boot camps in our town where we lived. But this iteration, MadeMan, started October of last year. And so Dave got started in December, and he was one of the first handful of clients I had. And right away, I had a guy that was like, hey, this isn't going to work. And so it forced me to make sure that I stayed on top of my job, right? Because it's easy for all of us to get complacent, right? Like, I get along with this guy. It's great rapport. But, he's skeptical. I got to stay on top of my stuff. And it was great for me, because I was able to help Dave have an incredible transformation, not only in his physical, but his relationships, his relationship with himself more than anything.
Yeah, right? That's like what I think that's what I learned the most about his interview. Like, that's what changed the most, but that is what rippled out into the rest of his world. But like, I think that must be the core of it.
And what's so great is, like, a couple months ago, and he wasn't obviously as ripped as he is now, he still probably had 15 or 20, maybe 25 pounds to go. And they went to the water park, and he sent me a text, and he said, oh, I just took my shirt off at the water park and didn't think twice. And he said, then Megan, his wife, she said, how does it feel to be the best shaped guy in the water park? The guy in the best shape of anybody at the water park, right? And so his wife was recognizing it. Yeah. And we didn't really get to speak about it today, but I did an interview with Dave in my group. And I've never seen this happen. I've been on dozens and dozens and dozens of these interviews over the years. A friend of his actually came on to support him, which was great. But I've never had a friend raise their hand and say, look, I wrote something because I want Dave to know how much his change has impacted our family.
Wow.
And it was incredible. And there was something in my eye that day too. You know, got her first gym membership she's ever gotten in her life. It just, it was really inspiring. And,
okay. Sorry, remind me, I have a follow-up after you're done.
No, I'm good. I'll talk all day. He just sent me a text too, said, sorry, I had to go. I feel like I could have went another hour.
Oh, so he's so sweet.
Gosh. It was so great to bring us on here today too, because I think a lot of people are struggling in the world.
Yeah,
I
agree.
The holidays are coming right now, so there's a lot of built-in excuses.
Yeah,
right.
Totally.
But aside from the fitness part, what else comes with the holidays? Right, families and stress.
Well, and for some people, the holidays are a lonely time, a really lonely time. Yeah. Okay, you mentioned that she wrote him a letter. So is it okay that we like? I feel like there's an elephant in the room a little bit, because this is called MadeMan Coaching. You just talked about a she in the room. You may or may not have made an exception for another she, which is me, to take me on recently. And I'm hoping maybe within the next, 6 months, maybe. I'm not sure. There might be some show about that. I don't know. We'll see, depending on how that all takes.
6 months, but we'll see.
Well, I don't know. There's going to be a reveal. There's going to be a reveal at some point pretty soon. And it's because I was like Dave, where I had just been doing my own thing for a year. And finally, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. I feel like I'm putting in the time. I'm showing up and I'm not seeing the success that I think in my head I should be seeing. Well, it turns out I knew almost nothing about macros. Like, you had to teach me everything, and there's still a ton to learn. So you tweaked, you made a customized plan, and I'm sure you did this for Dave too, which is what for me is so valuable about you, Mike. Like, the plan you have Dave on and the plan you would have me on or somebody else, It's a completely different thing. We're all unique human beings. And it's like you're able to take a person and just dial them in to such a degree that's like unbelievable. I mean, just the success I've seen just in the nutrition part alone has been unbelievable. And then recently you allowed me to come in on the fitness side of things. So I have a feeling like big things are coming. And I just got to thank you.
I am so excited.
Like I have them. Yeah, it's going to be big. It's going to be exciting.
I've worked with women on and off for a long time, right? If you're talking about weight loss in general, typically women are the client that is looking for weight loss.
Yeah.
Just in general, is what it is. I'm not making that up. But Weight Watchers and all those programs, they don't market to men for a reason, right? The women are the ones that are typically much more conscious of their weight, and some of that societal, et cetera, et cetera. I do work with women. The reason I started with MadeMan is because my wife doesn't really have the time to run a women's group. And I think because I think that part is very important, I think the mindset stuff and the relationship stuff, I think that's all at least as important as the fitness and nutrition stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't want to launch a women's program alongside because it's difficult enough to get one business off the ground, let alone basically two independent businesses. And the other thing is, I think it does a disservice to the men and the women when I do a co-ed call. Now, we do have a marriage call, which we've been so fortunate to have you on. And I think that's a pretty good call. It's probably my favorite call of the week, if I'm being completely honest. But it's a little different, right? Because we're specifically talking about our relationships and what that looks like. But when we get into some of the stuff like the addiction stuff and some of the struggles, men tend to open up more when they're just with other men.
Yeah, totally.
Is for whatever reason, our biology says we have to show off in front of women. And I think women too have their own struggles. And my wife is a woman, so I am uniquely qualified to help men in that aspect. And I, not to say we've never done group stuff with women, but when it's me by myself, I feel like I would hinder some of that for women. So I didn't want to launch a similar program at the same price point and not offer them all the same stuff. But I just had another conversation with a woman today. So I am working with a few women now. You were my first exception. And I love it. Like,
maybe I shouldn't have said it.
It's no, it's okay. Cause I am working with a few now because, and it's a slightly different setup because I'm really just doing the nutrition and the fitness and hopefully some of those other women, I'd be happy to invite them on that relationship call that we do on Saturdays too, the Made Marriage call. I am 100%. I want to give everybody value if I can. And so the main reason we don't have a female specific program yet, like MadeMan, is just because I don't have a woman.
It's coming, Mike. I can see it in the horizon. I'm
excited for it. I really am. and so I just didn't want to do a disservice to women by just throwing out a program that wasn't as good.
Right.
Because I'm really proud of what we've built at MadeMan, because I really feel like if I left, it would still be incredible. Like the magic of MadeMan is this group of men. Like they don't need me, which is great. And I mean, they might disagree.
They might need you a little bit.
But they have got so much power and so much willingness to serve not only in their families and their communities, but each other.
Yeah.
We had a call last night and a gentleman's son was in a car accident while we were on the call. And it wasn't a major accident or anything, but he jumped off the call, and then 30 minutes later, like this chat is blowing up. Like everybody's, hey, where's your son? How's everything? Everybody okay? Like people really care about each other, which I think is something else that we have to get back to in our country.
Yeah.
So we're planning our first event. We're planning our first in-person event. I think it's going to be in Utah. So I'm pretty excited about that in the spring.
Cool.
Not even sure how it's going to work. I just know it's happening. So I committed to them that it's happening in the spring. So they knew who I am. So now it has to happen because I am a man that follows through on my word. So
you just said
We're going to have our first
on a podcast
in-person event. It's going to be great. I'm really excited for that. And I just appreciate you taking the time to have us on today.
Heck yeah. I mean, I got so much out of that interview, Mike. Like I did not expect that. I didn't see that coming. It's just like, it's amazing to me, the people that God brings into my life. And I love hearing stories of how people are inspired and affected in such positive ways by other people as well. Like this is all a synergy, I think. This dynamic synergy that when we all connect together, we're stronger together and we can go further together. And I really believe that. And so I just appreciate you because I'm just so grateful that that you came into my life. And I was trying to think the other day how that even happened. I know you were on the podcast, but I'm like, somebody recommended him. I can't even remember who. It's just funny how life works like that. You know what I mean?
I don't know who it was either, actually. That's a good question. How did that happen? I'll have to go back and look. I'll let you know.
I want to toot your horn a little bit because you're not as good at doing it as I am. And I'll be tooting it a lot more after probably 6 months from now, because I can already see some huge changes that are happening with me. But if people want to learn more about you, I really encourage you guys, if you're struggling with something right now, I really truly believe, because this has been true for me, the pathway to success in my life has been the discipline of showing up for myself on a regular basis and being uncomfortable and doing hard things. And Mike has helped me do that. Mike has helped me encouraged me to do that. And he's good with accountability. He's really good about whenever have that negative self-talk and you really want to just beat yourself up, he's really good about mitigating that. And for me, that's something I'm dealing with. So like, I really hope that if there's any part of you that that just felt kind of like inspired by tonight, or if there's a part of you that's kind of been in the back of your mind, like, this is something I really think I should do, I just don't have the tools. Like, trust me, Mike will give you the tools. And if you do the thing, you will see the results and you will have the support that you need. And I think that's the most crucial part, the support and the community. So there's my horn tooting for you, Mike, whether you like it or not.
I appreciate it. So I think I gave you a slide you can pull up, but the one thing I would say to everybody is, man or woman, right? Like, if not now, when, right? Like, how many times have we said, after my birthday, after Thanksgiving, after Christmas, after the kids go to college, right? Like, tomorrow never comes. And if you're a man, your family is waiting for you. Like, every day that I don't work to be the best version of myself, I am failing my family. And it doesn't make me a bad human being, but it does make me not the best human being I can be. And I often say, right, our daughters will marry us and our sons want to be us. So what version are we going to give them to emulate? And so, Laura, can I give your list offer?
Can what?
Can I give your listeners an offer?
Of course you can. Yeah.
So anybody that, if somebody wants to get started now, and let me say this, if we talk and I am not the best fit for you, I will do everything I can to get you in touch with somebody that is.
Yeah.
But anybody that gets started before the new year, because the new year is ridiculous. It gets so busy and it takes me weeks to just sift out the people that were kind of just kidding and they were only going to follow through till the 2nd of January. So anybody that gets started, let's say before December 15th, because then it's Christmas and shopping and all that, I will help you not only not gain weight through the holidays, but start putting together a plan to succeed through the holidays. And if you listen to the Defenders Live podcast and you're hearing me from here, let me know that. And we'll just use code word Defender, right? And we will do 40% off for your first 6 months.
Whoa. So, are you sure you want to do that?
Yeah, I am. It's a significant amount of money off, but I want to take away all the excuses. If I could make it free, I would. But what I found is when I do it for free, people don't have any skin in the game. So the first day it's hard, they quit on themselves.
Yeah.
Right? So 40% off just for your listeners, but they have to start by December 15th because if they just are part of the January 1st flood, then it's going to take me 3 weeks to get back to them because, so, and that goes for women as well. Again, women, their program is already a little bit less because they're not getting all the same stuff, but I will honor 40% off for anybody that listens to Lora Thorson.
Wow. Okay. So, now wait just a second. So some people are watching this or they're not watching this. It's audio only. So for the audio only, you can email Mike at MadeManCoaching.com. You can follow him on Instagram at MadeMan_coaching. It's MadeManCoaching.com is the website, right? And his phone number. I can't believe you're putting your phone number on here.
Yeah, and that's my cell phone too. So
okay,
yeah,
so his
that's
phone
my
number
cell phone. It's not a CRM or anything. It's my actual phone number.
Okay, so his phone number for those of you that are listening and not watching is 252-347-2550. That's 252-347-2550. MadeManCoaching.com. That is an incredible offer. I did not see that coming.
My goal is to generational impact, right? So if I can help 25 people because the money is no longer the object, then it all comes back around. right? Because their whole family will change and then they'll send me some clients. It'll be great.
That is a win-win for everyone. Well, thank you so much for your time tonight. Is there anything that you want to leave our audience with? I mean, that was a pretty big bomb in and of itself.
Yeah, so that's great. So I just, I really appreciate your time today. I'm really excited for your results too. Not for me, just in the changes I've seen in you. Like the marriage call, like I'm really excited that you guys are engaging as a family a little bit and exercise. Like these are all great things. And I'm just really excited for everything that's coming your way. Like your business and like everything, just because everything gets better when we're consistent, right? Everything, and I think you said today, right? Like some days are just dumpster fires. That's how life works, right? Not everybody is going to be perfect, but if I have some consistent non-negotiable things in my life, I can go to bed knowing that my day wasn't a total failure because I did the things I committed to do.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's true of everybody. And if I can be of help to somebody, please let me know. And obviously anything you need, let me know. And thank you so much. Dave was incredible. Thank you for taking your time. I know you're such a busy woman, so I appreciate that you took the time to do this.
It's worth it, Mike. And I hope that other people will take the time to check you out, call you, email you, whatever it takes, guys, get in contact with Mike. Even if you're not sure, just reach out, even if you're not sure. And he's not a guy that's going to hard sell you on something. He's not going to pin you up against a wall about anything. He's not like that, as you can probably tell by this interview. And I just really believe in what he's doing. And that's why I want to be a part of the great work that he's doing. And that's why I'm helping, have him on the show. And hopefully Dave has inspired you guys to make some moves in your life, because now is the time to do it. There's no need to wait till tomorrow. Today's the day. So how's that, Mike?
Thank you so much.
All right, cool. Thank you.